The movie opens deep in the heart of a dense forest, where we see a father and his young son on a hunting trip. The father has just killed the deer and hands his son a knife, excitedly telling him to skin it. But the boy is completely terrified, frozen in place with fear. Instead of comforting him, the father loses his patience and starts yelling at him. Years pass, and that's when the real story begins. The focus shifts to an engaged couple named Olivia and Reed, who are deeply in love. Reed proposes to Olivia, and she happily says yes, filling them both with excitement. To celebrate, they throw an engagement party at Reed's family's secluded house in the middle of the woods. The atmosphere is lively and cheerful, with friends and relatives gathered to celebrate the happy couple. Reed spends most of the evening taking pictures with his camera to preserve the memories, especially photos of Olivia with their friends. Everything seems perfect on the surface, but beneath all that happiness lies an old emotional wound. Reed hasn't spoken to his father in years, and although the reason for their estrangement remains unclear, the tension between them is impossible to ignore. Despite the distance between them, Reed's father is clearly worried about him. Later, as Reed and Olivia prepare to head back to the city, his father tells him that he's already stocked the car with everything they'll need: food, gas, extra clothes, and even weapons. Reed doesn't understand why any of that is necessary since it's supposed to be a short drive, but his father insists, and warns him that the road ahead is more unpredictable than he can imagine. Before they leave, his father brings up Reed's decision to marry Olivia. He asks if Reed is truly ready for marriage and whether he's really managed to move on from his past. The conversation hits a nerve, but before it turns into an argument, Olivia arrives, and the couple leaves together, completely unaware that their journey is about to take a dark and deadly turn. As they drive, the tension lingers inside the car. Olivia tries to comfort Reed, reminding him to focus on their future instead of dwelling on the past. At that exact moment, another car suddenly appears in front of them, and Reed barely manages to avoid a collision. The near accident shakes them both, especially after Olivia reveals that she's pregnant. Not long afterward, they realize they've taken the wrong road and are completely lost. They come across a fork in the road but have no idea which way to go. Reed wants to take one path, but Olivia chooses the other, saying there's a gas station that way. Although hesitant, Reed agrees to follow her suggestion, never realizing that this road won't lead them home. It will lead them straight into a living nightmare. Eventually, they stop at an old, rundown gas station that looks almost abandoned. Olivia urgently needs to use the restroom, so they walk into the small convenience store, where they find an elderly man sitting silently behind the counter. He doesn't speak, or even move. No matter how hard they try to get his attention, he remains completely still, filling the room with an unsettling sense of dread. Suddenly, a strange woman appears. She looks harsh and frightening and demands to know who they are and why they're bothering her husband. Reed and Olivia explain that they're lost and that Olivia desperately needs to use the restroom. They also ask if she has a map that could help them find their way. Instead of helping them right away, the woman laughs, walks over to the old man, and starts talking to him as if Reed and Olivia aren't even there. Her calm tone is strangely unsettling. Then she says something that sends chills down their spines. "Everyone who ends up here always gets lost." Her words make them even more uneasy, especially since the old man still hasn't moved or spoken. Finally, she hands Olivia the restroom key. As Olivia walks away, the woman turns to Reed and gives him directions to a shortcut through the forest, insisting that it's the fastest way back to the city. Although Reed doesn't completely trust her, he takes the directions anyway, and the two of them drive off. Neither of them realizes that the road they've chosen won't lead them to safety. It will lead them to something far more sinister. As their car disappears into the distance, the mysterious woman watches them with a knowing smile, as if she's fully aware of the horrors waiting for them ahead. Reed and Olivia continue toward their destination, and before long, they notice another shortcut and decide to take it. Reed is still distracted, haunted by his father's words. Memories from his childhood begin flooding back. His father, an experienced hunter, had always wanted Reed to follow in his footsteps. When Reed was only 9 years old, his father killed a deer right in front of him and forced him to skin it. That traumatic moment stayed with him forever, and he swore he would never become the kind of man his father was. He couldn't bear the thought of his own children ever looking at him with the same fear and disgust. Lost in those memories, Reed suddenly slams into an old, rusted car sitting abandoned in the middle of the road. It looks like it has been there for years. Olivia warns him that this is already the second time today he's nearly caused an accident, and urges him to drive more carefully. It's obvious she's frustrated by how distracted he is. Confused by everything that's happening, Reed gets out of the car to move the wreckage out of the way. Once they start driving again, something truly horrifying begins to happen. What looks like drops of blood start splattering across the windshield, slowly spreading until the entire glass is covered in deep crimson red. Then, out of nowhere, a dark, demonic whisper echoes beside Reed's ear, softly calling his name, marking the true beginning of the nightmare. Reed suddenly wakes up to find Olivia sitting beside him, asking if he's okay. He assumes he's just exhausted from driving for so long, and that everything he experienced was nothing more than a hallucination. When he tells her it felt like hours had passed, she surprises him by saying it has only been 5 minutes. Confused, Reed brushes it off, convincing himself that his tired mind is playing tricks on him, never realizing that this is only the beginning of the nightmare. As they drive deeper into the forest, Reed notices an elderly man standing by the side of the road. Despite Olivia's warning that the stranger could be dangerous, Reed pulls over and asks if he needs help. The moment the old man sees them, he panics and starts screaming, "Go back! Turn around!" Terrified, Reed and Olivia speed away, but the tension between them only grows stronger. Olivia accuses Reed of being reckless. She points out that he's already nearly caused multiple accidents, and is now stopping for complete strangers in the middle of nowhere. Then she begins wondering out loud if she's being punished for something that happened 3 years ago. Reed tries to calm her down, insisting that everything was just a mistake. Although Olivia falls silent, either of them realizes that the true horror is still waiting for them. A little later, they pull over so Olivia can use the restroom in the woods while Reed waits in the car. Suddenly, a rock slams into the ground beside the vehicle. Reed catches a glimpse of several children running away. Moments later, something crashes into the car, injuring his hand. Fear begins tightening its grip on him. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Olivia feels as though something is watching her from behind. Terrified, she runs back to the car and urgently tells Reed they need to leave immediately. As they continue driving, Olivia brings up the strange couple they met earlier, the ones who gave them directions to the shortcut. Reed looks at her in complete confusion. He insists he doesn't remember meeting anyone at all and asks when that supposedly happened. Olivia firmly insists it did happen and tells him he should get some rest, believing his exhaustion is causing memory lapses. Eventually, Reed falls asleep. When he wakes up, they are still driving along the same road. Frustrated, he asks why they haven't made it out yet. Olivia looks at him and says something chilling. "We're never going to make it home." The moment he looks at her, her face twists into a horrifying demonic form. Reed jolts awake once again, only to find Olivia sitting beside him as if nothing has happened. There is no sign of the terrifying face, the shadowy figure, or any of the horrors he thought he had witnessed. At that moment, Reed realizes something is terribly wrong. Even though they left the engagement party hours ago, they're still trapped on the same shortcut, and their gas tank is almost empty. Olivia is just as confused. She has no idea how much time has passed. She can't remember when they started driving or anything that has happened since then, and her fear continues to grow. Suddenly, she spots a dark figure standing in the middle of the road. Panic takes over, and they stop the car. They step outside to get some fresh air, only to discover that daylight has completely vanished. In the blink of an eye, the bright morning sky has turned into the middle of the night. Reed is left speechless, unable to explain how time could have slipped away so quickly. Then something even stranger happens. They find themselves back at the exact same spot where they saw the broken car bumper earlier. But this time, the scene is far more horrifying. Parked beside the wreckage is a car identical to theirs, with a blood-soaked corpse hanging from it. Panic sets in as they try to escape, but a dark, ghost-like creature emerges from the trees. At the same time, their gas tank runs completely dry. They try reversing, but the car refuses to move. Even after hitting the creature with the vehicle, it remains completely unharmed. It isn't human. Just when death seems inevitable, another car appears in the distance. Its headlights catch the creature's attention, giving Reed and Olivia the chance to run into the forest. Overwhelmed with fear and despair, Olivia breaks down. She begs Reed to take her home and tearfully confesses that she cheated on him in the past. She hopes that by telling him the truth, she'll earn forgiveness and a second chance. Reed struggles to stay optimistic, reassuring her that they'll survive no matter what. While they hide among the trees, the dark creature searches for them before eventually disappearing. Taking advantage of the silence, they try to make their way back to the highway. But the nightmare refuses to end. No matter where they go, they always find themselves back at the same place with the wrecked car. Their memories become unreliable. One moment they're arguing, the next they're laughing, but none of it seems real anymore. Time and space have completely lost their meaning, and it becomes clear that some unseen force is manipulating their minds. Eventually, Olivia storms off in anger, leaving Reed behind. Before he can even process what's happening, the ghostly creature returns and attacks them, knocking them unconscious. When Reed wakes up, he discovers that both he and Olivia have been tied up. Standing before them, the creature is feeding on the corpse hanging from the tree. Olivia bursts into tears, realizing they're next. Then she confesses something even worse than her past affair. She admits that she's still involved with another man to this very day. Reed is left completely heartbroken and confused, unable to understand why she would choose this moment, while they're both facing certain death, to hurt him with the truth. Reed then asks Olivia if the baby she's carrying is really his. She reassures him that the child is indeed his. Before he can fully process what she said, the masked entity suddenly speaks, exposing Olivia's secrets, and revealing that it knows everything about her. It calls her a traitor and tries to kill her. Just before the creature can strike, something completely unexpected happens. The mysterious old man, the same one who had warned them earlier to turn back, reappears and attacks the creature, knocking it unconscious. He quickly unties Reed and Olivia, urging them to leave immediately while warning them that the creature won't stay unconscious for long. As they flee, Reed can't shake the feeling that the old man seems strangely familiar, even though he can't remember where he knows him from. They ask him what's happening and where they are, and he reveals a shocking truth. This isn't an ordinary road. It's a strange dimension that connects countless parallel universes and alternate realities. Anyone trapped here is doomed to drive forever, with no escape. The old man claims he's been trapped there for ages, unable to find a way out. He explains that every version of a person, their past, present, and future selves, can exist within this place, and it's even possible to encounter all of them. But the most terrifying part is that the road constantly erases people's memories. No matter how hard they try to understand what's happening, they'll eventually forget everything. Even so, he tells them that something has changed. Reed and Olivia have done something no one else has ever managed to do. Without realizing it, they've created a flaw in the system, and they may have even discovered a way to escape. Before he can explain what that way is, however, the road begins affecting him as well. He forgets who Reed and Olivia are, becomes aggressive, and accuses them of trying to kill him. Terrified, they run back into the endless forest. Reed is still devastated by Olivia's betrayal, but despite everything, he can't bring himself to abandon her. He's determined to get her out of this nightmare no matter what. Then an idea suddenly comes to him. If the old man is telling the truth, then their past selves will eventually return to the exact spot where they stopped near the wrecked car, the same place where Olivia had gone into the woods earlier. That gives them one chance. If they can meet their past selves and steal the gasoline from their own car, they'll be able to refuel their vehicle and finally escape. But one question still remains: what exactly did they do in the past that created this escape route? Then they remember the moment when the demonic creature first appeared, right after they backed the car up. Suddenly, the old man's warning, "Go back," makes perfect sense. Maybe that was the key all along. Their plan is now clear. They hide in the forest, and just as the old man predicted, their past selves arrive and stop the car so Olivia can step out. Present-day Reed tells Olivia to stay hidden because he already knows what's about to happen. He picks up a rock and throws it toward his past self to distract him, recreating the exact same moment from the beginning of the story. The loop is finally complete. Current Reed then rushes to the car, grabs the hidden gasoline, and runs away. In the distance, past Reed notices a shadow moving through the woods, the exact same shadow he saw at the very beginning. Everything suddenly falls into place. That shadow was never a ghost. It was Reed himself. They'd been trapped inside a loop created by their own actions, and every missing piece of the puzzle finally clicks together. Now Reed and Olivia finally have both a car and enough gasoline. For the first time, they have one last chance to escape this cursed dimension. They get into the car and prepare to drive backward out of the nightmare. Before they do, Reed quietly forgives Olivia for everything and decides to give their relationship another chance. Olivia is relieved, but Reed is badly injured. As she reaches into the back seat looking for a bandage, she discovers a jacket and a knife identical to the ones used by the mysterious killer. At that moment, she realizes the horrifying truth. The ghostly creature wasn't someone else. It was Reed, from the future. Fear completely overwhelms her. She grabs the knife and orders Reed to get out of the car, convinced that he will eventually try to kill her as well. Although Reed is confused and seriously wounded, he leaves the car without resisting. Moments later, the shadow, presumably future Reed, appears and walks toward him without warning. Meanwhile, Olivia is left alone inside the car. Her hallucinations become increasingly intense until the shadow attacks her. When its mask falls off, she's horrified to discover that she's looking at her own face. The truth is finally revealed. Reed was never the killer. Olivia had been the killer all along. Her future self is about to finish her off when Reed suddenly returns just in time and kills the future version of Olivia. Olivia is critically wounded, but for a brief moment, it seems as though the nightmare is finally over. Then another terrifying realization hits them. If there's a future version of Olivia, then there must also be a future version of Reed. Moments later, future Reed appears, more violent and dangerous than ever before. Before he can attack, present Reed manages to kill him as well. He helps Olivia back into the car and begins driving in reverse. As the car backs up, the cursed road starts collapsing. A mysterious light appears at the end of the road, and as they drive through it, the strange dimension finally begins to dissolve. At last, they return to the exact place where everything first began, the shortcut. Reed smiles, believing they've finally survived. But when he looks over at Olivia, he realizes she's no longer breathing. Completely devastated, Reed calls his father, who tries to comfort him by saying that time will eventually help him forget everything. But Reed knows he'll never be able to forget her. Heartbroken, he leaves Olivia behind and picks up the same wooden staff he once saw in the old man's hand. Because the truth is, Reed has become that old man. Broken, haunted, and completely alone, he walks back toward the cursed highway without fully understanding his fate. Meanwhile, Olivia slowly regains consciousness. She's alive. And she's still pregnant. As Reed returns to the cursed road once again, his memories gradually begin to fade. But just then, a little girl calls out to him. She's holding a photograph of Reed and Olivia, and her eyes look exactly like his. In that moment, Reed realizes the final truth. Olivia survived. She eventually came back looking for him, and gave birth to their daughter. And that's where the story comes to an end. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos.